It's the night of January 18th, 2025. Off the southern coast of Spain, near the quiet town of Cartagena, two divers enter one of Europe's most infamous underwater cave systems, Cueva del Agua, the Water Cave. It's a place known for its beauty, but also its danger. A warm water labyrinth carved into limestone, with over 4 miles of submerged tunnels. Divers call it the Route of Terror. Not just for the name, but for what it's done. Over the past 35 years, 5 people have died inside. Lorena Garcia Martin, 37 years old, slips beneath the surface with her dive partner. She's a primary school teacher, trained in open water diving and free diving, and had even taken courses with GEAS instructors. But what she didn't have was a formal cave diving certification. Her partner, Ismael, wasn't just another diver. He was her boyfriend and a certified cave diving instructor. The two shared a passion for diving, but that night, it changed everything. They arrived at the cave around 8 p.m., just as darkness fully settled in. Then they descended, flashlights cutting through the thermal haze, the cave tightening around them with each turn. Sharp rock, loose silt, disorienting silence. This is a system where one mistake, one missed signal, one bad decision is all it takes. At some point inside the cave, they became separated. The water was murky, the visibility collapsing, maybe a silt out, maybe something worse. Ismael later told police he re-entered the cave alone to search for her, but eventually surfaced and called 112 at 11:04 p.m., telling responders it was urgent and that she might still be alive. By then, it was already too late. Spain's elite underwater rescue team, GEAS, arrived on site, along with police, firefighters, and paramedics. They entered the same system with ropes, lights, and years of experience navigating deaths like this one. Around 1:45 a.m., they found Lorena's body, deep in the submerged tunnels of Cueva del Agua. But the story didn't end there. Shortly after, the Guardia Civil opened a formal investigation into Ismael, now accused of negligent homicide. Authorities questioned why a trained instructor led a diver without a cave certification into one of the most dangerous underwater systems in Europe, and whether he had fully planned or safely managed the dive. Sources close to the investigation compared it to putting someone on a racetrack with a superbike when they only know how to ride a scooter. Investigators are now inspecting everything: the guideline markers, anchor points, and especially Lorena's dive computer, which functions like a black box. It can reveal when she descended, how deep she went, how long she stayed, and possibly even when she became disoriented or tried to surface. Ismael has hired a defense attorney. Authorities are piecing together a minute-by-minute reconstruction of the dive, asking, did he act too late? Was the dive plan flawed from the start? And should she have ever been in that cave at all? It was a cold Friday in January, just outside Staffordsville, Virginia, a quiet patch of land near the West Virginia border, where forest gives way to rock and the ground hides more than it reveals. Somewhere along a ridgeline, Autumn Nicole Draper, 38, stepped into a cave. To those who knew her, Autumn, also called Nikki by family, was full of heart. A hiker, an adventurer, a single mom raising a young daughter in the nearby town of Fairlawn. She wasn't part of a formal expedition. The cave she entered wasn't developed or regulated, just one of the hundreds tucked into the hills of Giles County. No handrails, no markers, no gear checks. We can only guess what made her step inside. Maybe curiosity, maybe just the quiet pull of an unexplored place. She might have taken a few cautious steps in, flashlight in hand, just to see what was there. But at some point, she made the decision to go deeper. No helmet, no proper rappelling gear, nothing to protect her if things went wrong. And not long after that, they did. She fell, almost 100 feet down, into the pitch black. One of the people with her called 911 around 4:15 p.m. Emergency teams were dispatched quickly, but it took hours before technical cave rescue crews, including Blacksburg's specialist unit, could get to her. When they finally reached the bottom, there was nothing more to be done. Autumn had died from the fall. It wasn't until after 1 a.m. that her body was brought back to the surface. Her brother, Brandon Court, was there, waiting, watching. He later posted publicly, saying, "My beautiful sister is now with God. I know that life was hard and that you carried so much pain in your heart. Your little girl is going to be just fine. I promise you I will protect her, love her, and raise her the best I can. I'll be the daddy she needs for as long as I'm here." The sheriff's office later confirmed she hadn't been wearing the proper safety gear. There was no foul play, No signs of equipment failure, just a devastating fall in a place where even one wrong step can mean the end. And this is the part that hurts most. It didn't have to happen. Caving without basic gear, even something as simple as a helmet, can turn a casual adventure into a deadly mistake. In Virginia alone, there are over 4,000 caves. Giles County has at least 250 of them, but only a dozen are considered safe for public use. It's September 29th, 2025, early afternoon. Off the coast of Gozo, a small island just north of Malta in the Mediterranean Sea, the blue hole at Dwedra glistens under a bright southern European sun. The water is flat, calm, perfect conditions, at least from above. A 54-year-old German woman stands near the edge, adjusting her gear. She clearly knows what she's doing. Calm, focused, moving through each step like she's done it 100 times before. She steps into the water, dropping into what looks like a giant natural swimming pool carved straight out of rock. It's a vertical shaft, roughly 30 feet across, filled with sapphire blue water. She descends slowly along its sheer limestone walls, past bright coral sponges, delicate tube worms, and darting schools of wrasse. Around 30 feet down, a beam of light pierces through the gloom, revealing the massive underwater archway that leads from the blue hole into the open sea. She glides through it, entering a completely different world, one of enormous house-sized boulders scattered across the seabed, forming twisting corridors and echoing chambers of rock. Beyond that, maybe she explores the chimney, a narrow vertical crack in the stone where divers can ascend through the rock itself, emerging at a shallower plateau. But at some point, deep in that quiet maze, something goes wrong. Maybe a sudden swell stirs up the sediment, the water clouds, visibility drops, her mask fogs slightly. She turns to orient herself, but the archway has disappeared behind suspended silt. She reaches for the line, nothing. Nobody in sight, only bubbles and rock. She makes the decision to ascend, kicks hard. But in the disorientation, she may have chosen the wrong slope, moving laterally instead of upward. Her breathing gets heavier. The tank feels low, light above, but it's still too far. Then, finally she surfaces, limp, unresponsive, alone. That's how bystanders found her, floating near the edge of the blue hole. They pulled her from the water, performed CPR. Emergency services rushed to the scene, medics, police, civil protection, even a rescue helicopter. But nothing worked. She died right there on the rocks. Authorities still haven't released a cause of death. Maybe it was a medical emergency, maybe panic, maybe just exhaustion. A formal inquiry is underway, but for now, what's left is silence and a warning. Alright, so this one happened in 1973, at a place in South Australia called The Shaft. And honestly, it's wild how something so deadly can look so harmless. From above, it's just this small hole in the middle of a field. You wouldn't give it a second look, but drop down through it, like literally squeeze through a 3-foot wide opening, and you end up in this massive underwater cave the size of a football field. A beam of sunlight shines straight through the water and lights up the rock pile below. It looks magical, but it's seriously dangerous. That day, 9 divers went in, and 4 never came back. Among them was Christine Millett, only 19, but already kind of a legend in the diving community. She'd been diving since she was a little kid. Her dad was a pro diver, and she was with her brother Steven, her cousin John, and a guy named Gordon. They were all experienced, but this was next level stuff. Their plan was to drop down past 200 feet into one of the side tunnels and hit 250 feet. But here's the thing, they were doing it in 1973 using just regular air tanks. No mixed gases, no modern computers. And the deeper you go, the more compressed the air gets. At that depth, every single breath burns through 7 times more air than at the surface. So if you've got, say, 30 minutes of air on the surface, down there, it's more like 4 minutes, maybe 5 if you're super careful. So they drop in, no guidelines, no backup plans, and all 4 of them kick up a cloud of silt in this tight tunnel. Visibility goes to 0. Christine and Gordon get stuck in a false dome, like a ceiling pocket with no exit. They're swimming around, flashing their lights, hands on the rock, trying to find the way out, but they're trapped. John swims deeper, totally disoriented from nitrogen narcosis, and Steven tries to shoot to the surface, but he gets caught on a ledge. All of them ran out of air before they had a chance to fix anything. The rest of the group waited, but only 4 divers came back up. It took 11 months to recover the others, and after that, everything changed. This was the wake-up call. The reason we have cave diving rules today, like proper training, gas planning, safety lines, buddy systems, is because of what went wrong that day at the shaft.